Okay, first thing first, I need to know how many of you came to this session thinking, what the fuck is blockchain? Okay, good. So good news, we're here to talk about it. One of the reasons why blockchain is so difficult to explain is because it's so massive. What it's capable of really is a huge build out. That includes the metaverse, and it includes NFTs, and it includes cryptocurrency, and all those things. And we're gonna touch on all of those. Now, the good news is we put together a presentation that I think explains everything really well. We timed it out, it's 18 hours long. So I know you're all looking forward to lunch later. That's canceled. We're doing an all-nighter in here. When they told us we had 30 minutes, we thought, oh dear. So we're gonna go over the highlights. And my first job is to explain the blockchain technology that's gonna make all the metaverse stuff work in about 90 seconds. And here we go. Think of blockchain, first of all, as really an Excel spreadsheet. It's just a ledger system. It's a system that says this transaction happened at this point with these people involved, and here's the money that changed hands, right? It really is not much different from a spreadsheet. But the structure of blockchain that makes it different is that it's structured sort of, in my head, I picture it like a game of dominoes. I have never played a game of dominoes like this because I'm not a psychopath. I stack them up and knock them over. However, some people play this real game. And I am told that when you play dominoes like this, the object of the game is to match a domino with the same number of dots to another domino with the same number of dots, right? And therefore, you build out this chain of dominoes. This is how blockchain ledgers are structured. So if you are going to, let's say, buy cryptocurrency, that's a tough sell right now, but if you're going to buy some crypto, that transaction gets recorded on a blockchain ledger, and that transactional ledger gets added to a chain that looks like this domino chain. So each ledger, think of that as a domino, all right? Then the next people who buy a bunch of crypto, they get tagged on to the next one and they connect, right? So all these ledgers are connecting in sequential order. And that, I swear to God, basically is blockchain. Any questions so far? We're gonna go fast. Again, there's a lot to cover, but please interrupt us at any point. We're good with that. So we can't really get into the potential of blockchain without talking about the peril of blockchain, specifically the tools that we've built on the blockchain that are not having their best lives right now, including NFTs and cryptocurrency. If you are at all following the world of crypto, you know that a lot of crypto bros have lost a lot of money and are very sad. They're tweeting about it to Elon a lot these days. And I'm just here to tell you, we could talk about that for hours. I'm just here to tell you that that's actually expected, and it's okay, because this is Gartner's hype cycle. And this is the cycle, the life cycle that hype for most new technologies tends to follow, all right? So you can't really see it. I'm not supposed to walk too far away because we're on camera. But over here, we have NFTs, we have decentralized identities. I'm gonna fall off the stage. It's gonna be really awkward. And somewhere over here is crypto.
And hilarious. I would actually very much enjoy that. Yeah.
So we're really on the downhill spiral. And I would say, honestly, the collapse of FTX has pushed us a little bit further down that spiral right now, but it's expected. If you think about it, those of you who were around for Web 1.0, the dot-com crash, it was like this, right? The technology hype around it got really up, and then it crashed, and then everyone thought, internet's over. Obviously, internet is not over, but this is the hype cycle these things go through. So right now, everyone's saying crypto's over, NFTs are over. It's probably not over because the blockchain technology is really important, but it's going to have some hard days ahead. All right. So as marketers, what can we do to get really excited about blockchain technology and the metaverse? One of the things we can do is create branded spaces. That's probably the most obvious one. So we'll talk about it first and quickly. This is a branded space in the metaverse created by Nike. It is called Nike Land. You don't have to get too creative if you have a budget like Nike. They built this out, I believe it's in the Decentraland space. This is part of the metaverse. Now, if your question is what is the metaverse? It's not something that is owned by Mark Zuckerberg, though he loves to brand it that way, and would like you to think that Meta owns the metaverse. It is essentially a collection of VR spaces. You put on a headset and you are in a virtual reality space. All those, in the best case scenario for the metaverse, will somehow connect to each other. They can talk to each other. So if you buy a digital asset in one virtual reality space, like, oh, my avatar needs a new shirt. I'm gonna buy a shirt and put it on this shirt. You could then, theoretically, bring that shirt to a different avatar in a different virtual space. I know, it's really exciting. Shirts everywhere. So the way Nike is capitalizing on this, one of the ways, is they built Nike Land. So you can strap on a VR headset, you can go to this pretty minimally branded space for Nike, and you can play basketball, you can climb walls, all through metaverse, or all through virtual reality. And And they also allows them to do a few things, right? It gets engagement from their consumers, it gives them a place to go that is, again, it is branded, just not overly branded. And it's kind of it's a very private, physical space for you to engage with the Nike brand.
You also look super cool with a VR headset on, like shooting basketballs and climbing walls.
Oh yeah, you look dope.
Yeah.
That's true. Those will look better someday. So not only that though, but it offers you the chance to do some pretty cool brand activations. So one of the things Nike did, which I thought I had a picture of, I don't. But I'm gonna paint a beautiful word picture. You're gonna see it in your mind's eye. They did a brand activation with LeBron James, with whom they have a partnership, of course. And they released a new NFT sneaker, which is just a digital sneaker you can buy and put on your avatar in Nike Land, right? If you're not like a video game player, that's probably not meaning a lot to you, but if you are, it's pretty cool, right? But they also tied that with the actual launch of the actual sneaker. So you could buy the NFT, so your character in the metaverse can wear it, but also they would ship you a pair of the sneakers for you, your actual person self, the actual human part of you, can also wear. When they launched it, they had LeBron put in a full body like motion capture suit, and he showed up in the metaverse, and you could actually play basketball virtually against LeBron in the shoes, right? Which is a cool experience. How many times do you get to actually connect with LeBron James? The answer is 0.
Oh, 1.
If you're Kara, the answer is at least 1.
1. In the metaverse.
Oh, right.
Yeah. The only place I can play basketball, by the way.
Yeah, that's true. I've seen that happen. So this is there's a lot of potential here. Now, you may be wondering, okay, but how do we build this? If that is your question, one of us is at the wrong conference. I do not know. I am in marketing, like I hope most of you are. But these are the sort of brand experiences we can build. As the metaverse becomes more widely adopted, these are the kinds of things we can really take advantage of. How long will it take before there's wide adoption of the metaverse? It's going to be a while. Meta made a big play for it. They spent $10 billion last year on building out Horizon Worlds, which is their kind of first big platform. It is going very poorly. People do not like it very much. But they're building this really interesting new technology that in a few years, other brands will then take and they'll build a better metaverse. And on the backs of Mark Zuckerberg's bones, we're going to build something great. And honestly, I don't hate it.
It's my favorite way to build things.
So what else can you do, though, with blockchain in the metaverse? This is a photo. It's a real-life picture of someone who's watching ads in their headset, right? In the future, it will be, I think, or at least the potential is there for this to be possible, or to be common. People will go into the metaverse, they'll hang out, they'll do their little things, and you can show them ads just like you would show them ads on the internet. But the blockchain structure lets you send them ads and then monetize the ads for them. In other words, you can pay your consumers for watching your videos. This has the potential to be really, really powerful, especially as we look forward to the next couple of years when Google is going to phase out their third-party cookies unless they keep punting and punting and punting forever. Assuming they actually make good on that promise, we're going to need new ways to kind of interact with people without being able to chase them across the internet. This gives us the opportunity to do some pull marketing instead of some push marketing. So instead of spending to get the reach out there, to get impressions out there, you are offering a payment for people to come to you and engage with your marketing content, right? How do you pay them? Gosh, that's a great question. I'm so glad someone asked that. So this is where crypto does come into play a little bit. Kara, do you want to first give us an idea of what crypto is and is not?
From a legal perspective, absolutely.
That's what I'm hoping.
Why am I here? I'm here because everyone loves lawyers. Everyone loves to hear from lawyers. We always have very good news, like, yes, you can do that, and this is a good idea. When Clayton pitched this and said, do you want to come do this? I was like, sure, that sounds weird. Okay. And I did a lot of preparation talking about crypto as a legitimate currency and what that means. I did all this research into the Uniform Commercial Code, which, guys, is just as exciting as it sounds. Talking about Article 12 that they just passed this summer and 4 states have adopted. It's amazing. And then FTX crashed. And I was like, oh, okay, that kind of goes out the window. So basically, the general rule for a currency, and this is globally speaking, is a currency is recognized as a currency if you can secure a debt with it. So all of us who have mortgages, you buy a house, it's secured by the property, right? You don't pay your mortgage. What happens? You live in the house forever? No. The bank shows up, or the sheriff, or whomever. So that's legally, as far as crypto, really what people have been struggling with is, up until this point, our currencies, globally speaking, have been centralized by federal governments, right? And the rest of the world, at least at this point, kind of takes its cues from New York. The banking sector in New York City is really the one that sets the tone globally for currency and what that means. So what Article 12 is attempting to do, or was attempting to do, is establish that cryptocurrency can be a legitimate currency backed by the federal government, the United States federal government, if A, your state in which you live has adopted it, which, like I said, there's 4 at this point. So it's like Nebraska, New Hampshire, all the ones you think of when you think of like major global, financial institutions and states. And so far, up until this point, the federal government has only endorsed 2. They've endorsed Bitcoin and they've endorsed Ether. However, so I had a whole thing about that, and you guys are just wrapped, I can tell. We love talking about the UCC. However, FTX crashed. No one knows what the fuck is going on. So I get to talk about more exciting things here in a minute.
Yeah, we'll get back to Kara in a second.
Yeah. So what's going on with crypto as a legitimate currency? No one knows.
Not much.
No one knows.
So
not even Nebraska.
So you're not, that currently cryptocurrency is not technically, most cryptocurrencies are not technically considered currencies as we would traditionally think about them. However, as you know, they do still exist, right? They are assets that we still have.
My Doge is doing very well.
Yeah, I bet.
Thanks for that, Clayton. Thanks for making me buy that.
Got to get in early.
Yeah.
So right now they are very speculative assets, right? Which is its whole other thing. It's not really a currency. It's a speculative currency, which is dangerous. But one of the cool things you can do with that principle is you can build your own internal cryptocurrency, which we call tokens. So you can use the existing structures that are out there right now. The Bitcoin blockchain probably not, but Ether is built on the Ethereum blockchain, and they love sharing. So you could, your brand or your brands could build out your own crypto token on there. Again, don't ask me the technical details. That's a conference across the hall. But you could build your own token, right? So if you were McDonald's, you could have Burger Coin, and that could be your cryptocurrency. And you can use that as a way to reward your customers. Oh my God, you got a Happy Meal today. Here's 5 Burger Coins. God, that's a terrible example. That's a bad name, right?
Well,
yeah.
We've got lunch coming up. No one's late to you. You're hungry.
We're too deep
we
in
get
it
it.
now,
You're
so
very
we
tall.
go.
You need a lot of food.
You get 5 Burger Coins for buying a Happy Meal. You get, you sign up for the emailing list, you get 50 Burger Coins. And so you amass these tokens that are cryptocurrencies. And then what can you do with them? Whatever you want them to be able to do with them, right? If you have an NFT program, they can buy NFTs, which is now what we're going to talk about, NFTs and what they are and what they are not. We are covering so much ground so quickly. Does anyone have any questions right off the bat about NFTs before I go into them or about anything?
I really appreciate that we planned an 18-hour presentation.
I wasn't joking.
And now we've knocked it out in like 6 minutes. No, we're not done.
That's not true.
That's not true.
Okay.
Not even close.
When we think of NFTs, we think of like digital images. And we're going to talk more about those in a second when Kara talks about intellectual property rights. NFTs are much more than that, though. First of all, non-fungible tokens, there were no marketers in the room when they came up with that term because it is the worst term anyone has ever created. Someday it'll change.
It does sound like some sort of mushroom.
It's not good.
Yeah, or not a mushroom, I guess.
I see what you did there.
Yeah.
So we started calling them things like digital assets, which makes a little more sense. Still not great. We'll get there with them. But essentially, they're not just two-dimensional digital drawings. They are 3D models. They are, like I said, clothes you can put on your avatar, right, in these video game worlds. They are songs. So Columbia College is a very arts-focused school, and I'm in the business and entrepreneurship department. And so we're exploring like different ways that our students will be distributing work in the future. A lot of what they are really excited about. We have a lot of music students, and a lot of the musicians in our classes are really excited about the fact that they can upload their songs to blockchains, and that gives them the ability to, they're NFTs when you upload a song there, right? But because of the way NFTs or blockchain is structured, that gives them a lot more distribution options, which again, we'll get to in a second, put a pin in music.
Yeah. And we're seeing this in a lot of different industries. So Clayton just mentioned music. Spotify that we saw earlier, thank you so much for the first speaker who set this up for us. Spotify is offering a service now where their users, their musicians who host their music there, Spotify is providing the software or the tech or whatever for musicians to make their own NFTs of their music. So Spotify is not, buying them, not owning them, not even really promoting them, but they are providing what's needed for the musicians to do this for themselves. Another really interesting example that I've seen lately is, I don't know if any of you guys know the artist Damien Hirst. He's English, he's kind of provocative, he's a bit of a twat, but he's doing some really interesting stuff. Sure, I can, he's English. You don't watch nearly enough soccer. So what Damien Hirst is doing, Damien Hirst is one of the few living artists right now that is, selling works in the millions and millions and millions of dollars, big name, big following in the contemporary art collecting market. Damien has taken, I believe it's 1,000 of his works. He's a visual artist, painter, sculptor, all that stuff. He's taken about 1,000 of his works. He's created NFTs out of them. And then he's told collectors you can have one or the other. If you purchase the physical work, he keeps the NFT. If you purchase the NFT, he burns the work. So the actual work gets destroyed. So we're seeing, some interesting, curious, some people think cool, some people think ridiculous examples of this stuff playing out.
Yeah, which is brings up a good question. Blockchain, the metaverse, NFTs, are they cool or are they ridiculous? Yes, they
That
are.
could have been the name of our talk, actually. Yeah.
So if you're McDonald's, you can make NFTs or whatever you want. They can be two-dimensional images. They could be clothes that your person could wear in the metaverse, and they could wear branded clothes. Coca-Cola actually did a really cool thing last year. I think it was last year. They had an NFT auction. It was a charity auction for a good cause, and they auctioned off a handful of NFTs. One of the things you would get if you actually won the auction was this big, bless you, this big puffy jacket that had Coca-Cola branding on it. They made one of them. There was only one in the world that is actually a 3D model. And the person who won it now can equip that onto their avatar if they play Roblox. So Roblox is one of the kind of metaverse portals. It's a big collection of digital games.
It's really hot in the 10-year-old scene. My daughter is a very big fan.
Also, some 39-year-olds are pretty into it too. And when you play Roblox, you create an avatar and you dress them in different clothes. And this one person now can put this jacket on this person's avatar. I don't remember who won it. On their avatar.
I feel like I'm inside a William Gibson book right now, or perhaps a Ray Bradbury book.
And they wander around in the metaverse in Roblox. So if you see this person wearing this jacket, you're like, oh my God, you're the person who gave, I think it was many millions of dollars for that jacket, which is not how I would spend my money, but it's for a really good cause. And you're the person who did that, right? It's the only person who can wear that Coca-Cola branded puffy jacket in the metaverse. So when you think about how you can build out these ecosystems, you don't even need to have a branded space like Nike does in Decentraland. You can have your own system where you give crypto tokens to your consumers, to your customers, to your brand evangelists, and they can use them to interact with you, right? You can offer them things that they can either buy with those tokens, you can reward them with these digital assets, however you want. And then kind of interesting thing about these tokens as a currency is, and Kara might be able to speak more on this.
Probably not.
Probably not. If in the future, some of these currencies kind of hit the tipping point and the US federal government says, okay, we're going to start listing out all the currencies that we actually are going to back and support and let you kind of have FDIC protection for, et cetera, et cetera. It's not impossible. Your brand could be one of those tokens, right? Suddenly you have a cryptocurrency that is, is tied to the dollar that your customers can then actually use as money, and they can go to Wendy's and pay for their Wendy's burger with McDonald's coins. I love that. I love
Wendy's
spite.
Twitter is going to love that.
Oh my
They're going to
God,
be
it's gonna
all
be
over
really
it. If you
good.
guys don't follow Wendy's on Twitter, they're actually pretty savage. They're pretty funny.
Yeah. They're not going to let that stand very long.
Which is a weird thing to say about a fast food chain, but here we are.
One of the kind of more immediate benefits to marketers about blockchain technology is that it is very, very secure. Now, how many of you have heard that blockchain is not at all secure and people get hacked all the time and their money stolen? No one? I don't believe you. Thank you. Thank you, Ray.
Couple people. You guys are way more advanced than our college students.
Well, they're at least as quiet as our college students. So
it's because you haven't thrown a block at him yet.
I know, it's somewhere in the back.
Oh, I brought my own.
What are we talking about? Oh, it's safe. So
yes.
Blockchain is super, super secure. Blockchain itself is very secure, right? And that's really good for our customer data. If you put your CRM system on a blockchain network, their data is very secure. It is, I'm just going to say it this way. It's unhackable.
It's unhackable.
I'm going to say it.
Yeah.
I'm putting the flag in the ground.
Truly, I mean, and it probably won't stay that way forever. This is actually what my little brother does. He tries to break strong crypto. And this is all based on, Alan Turing and World War II stuff, the technology that's come out of that. But at this point, strong crypto is unbreakable by machine or man.
Your brother's a terrifying human person.
No, he's not. He's a sweet hippie. No, he was a drummer in a jam band before that.
That's true. So it's super secure. So if you think about the other kind of big component about blockchain we haven't yet mentioned is that it's decentralized, which is something you've probably heard thrown around when we talk about this topic. If you think back to the dominoes analogy, so you have all these spreadsheets basically, right, that are linked together. Now, those all exist in a decentralized system. Part of blockchain, the benefit of blockchain is that it's decentralized. What that means is there's no central governing authority that controls that. So like, for example, if you bank with Bank of America and you make transactions within your bank account, they are recorded on a ledger for Bank of America, right? But Bank of America has all control and access to all those ledgers. They have to build out really powerful securities so that that information doesn't get hacked, right? Because one of the ways that hacking theoretically works is if Kara sends me $1,000, maybe you're like, I want that $1,000, and you could hack in. Then if you change the record, then it says, oh, actually it didn't come to me, it went to you, right? Now you've got $1,000.
And you've heard of stories in the media of this happening. They weren't hacked, right? Like the owner.
Blockchain?
I'm thinking about Seth. What's his name specifically? Where,
Oh, Seth Green and his NFT?
Yes.
No, that got cut from this presentation because that was hour 16.
Okay.
Seth Green had an NFT stolen. He was tricked.
He was tricked.
We'll talk
He
about that
wasn't
a little
hacked.
bit.
He was tricked.
So it's decentralized. So Bank of America doesn't have to build out those really powerful securities. On the blockchain, you don't have to do that because inherently, because it's decentralized, it is secure. What does that mean? God, great question again. So if you think about the dominoes, there are kind of two layers of security here that make blockchain super safe and a really safe place to store your customer data. Number one, if you wanted to hack that data, you would be changing some of the information there. You'd either be removing it, say, this information is mine now, or you would be changing it to say, oh, that $1,000 is now mine, right? You're changing those dominoes. If you've played dominoes, and again, I have not, my understanding is if you change one domino, let's say it's got a 2 and a 3, right? You change it, so now it's a 4 and a 5. You have to change this domino, so there's a 4, and this domino, so there's a 5. If you change this domino, you have to change these dominoes. You have to change all the dominoes in order for that not to be flagged as, hey, this doesn't match up. These dots aren't the same number, right? So in order to hack a blockchain system, you would need to change every single block on that blockchain instantaneously, exact same time, right? That's number one. And that already is impossible. Some of these blockchains are billions of blocks long. There's no system in the world that can do that.
Yet.
Yeah. People are working on it, like your brother, apparently, which is weird. It's going to be a very different presentation in a few years.
He's very conflicted about it, by the way. He's like, am I doing this for good or evil? I'm not sure.
Oh, he's a gray hat.
And I say, Kyle, you're doing it for money, lawyer.
Oh, black hat. So that's number one. The second layer of security here is the decentralization itself. So think about blockchain as kind of an internet laid over the internet. So you think about those dominoes. Anytime you change one of those dominoes, or anytime you add a domino onto the end, a new block onto the blockchain, anytime something happens, it gets recorded on this domino-like Excel sheet. It has to be approved and confirmed. In the Bank of America example, Bank of America is the one saying, yes, this happened in our system, it's confirmed, right? In a decentralized system, the confirmation happens with all these computers. So look around this room, all these tables are here, right? Pretend each table is a computer. Together, these computers link up to make a blockchain. This is obviously oversimplification. There are many, many computers that make up lots of blockchains. But if every table in here was one node in this blockchain system, right? If I make a transaction on the blockchain, a random set of 6 tables will have to all look at that and say, yep, this is right. If Kara then goes on to make another transaction that's added to the blockchain, a different random 6 group of tables will have to look at that and say, yep, that's right. So again, expand this out to millions of computers or hundreds of thousands of nodes. If you want to hack the system, you not only have to switch every block in that blockchain simultaneously, but you also then have to guess which 1,000 computers are going to randomly be selected from that blockchain system and somehow hack those computers at the same time to tell them, yes, this transaction that's happening is legitimate. And if one computer flags any one transaction as illegitimate, the whole transaction shuts down and you're locked out. So it's very safe. It goes way above and beyond security. So customer relationship management systems that are built on blockchain are incredibly safe, right? Now, it feels weird that just random people and their random computers are in charge of kind of monitoring this data, right? We could get into DAOs, we don't have time, but there are structures built out that kind of centralize things a little bit in that sense, which we're happy to talk about after.
Well, and this is part of the problem with the UCC and the federal government and how they're trying to figure out how to make this technology legitimate, i.e. able to secure debt, because they would have to centralize it. And the powers that be in the wild west of the internet are saying, we don't want that. Like, we don't want this centralized by a federal government, you know, the United States or otherwise. We want this to be decentralized. We want to have approval from 1,000 different individual users at once. And so trying to find that balance of, you know, users are saying, we want this cryptocurrency to be real. We want it to be legitimate. I want to be able to buy a house with it or secure a mortgage with it. But we don't want the federal government involved either. And the federal government's going, it doesn't really work that way, you guys. Like, you kind of can't have this legitimate currency that's also decentralized at the same time. So that's a big fight we're seeing, you know, on Capitol Hill and globally.
Yeah. I know we're butting up against lunch. It says we have 11 minutes left, so we're going to probably not take all that. We're going to go through quickly and leave some time for questions. But
or hear me out. We could add 17 and a half more hours.
It's possible, believe it or not. One other really great benefit before we get to Kara's big portion here of blockchain is because part of the security is, I don't know if any of you have dealt with ad fraud. Right? Ad fraud is a major, major industry. Blockchain makes ad fraud basically disappear. One example of how that works is when you work with a provider, with a gateway provider or some platform where you purchase ads, you are relying on them to give you accurate data about how many impressions there are, what the click-through rate is, cost per click, all these things, right? You're relying on those platforms to give you data. And a lot of times you have to wait for a refresh, right? And that can be really annoying, especially if you're working on a whole bunch of different kind of beta testing of your motions at the same time. If you run digital display ads through a blockchain system, because of what we're going to talk about shortly, smart contracts, when people look at your ad, say you pay them to view it, or they just happen to find it and it's served to them, there's an impression, instantly, because of the blockchain, it instantly gets recorded and that record goes directly to you. You don't have to go through a middleman because it's not centralized. There's not, you know, Meta's servers are not the ones collecting all this data, waiting for it to process and then giving you this little burst of information that you're just kind of assuming is right, but might not really jive with what you think you're actually getting based on your own engagement with your own ads. Blockchain makes things happen instantaneously. Someone sees it, boom, that ticket's shown to you in your own dashboard, it's there. And so if you're paying someone for impression or for engagement or whatever, you get in real-time accurate count of whatever data point you're looking for. So suddenly you're not overspending on impressions that you think you're getting. You are spending exactly how much you budgeted on the exact number of impressions that you're targeting. It's really powerful. It can save a lot of people a lot of money, or at least increase our efficiencies by quite a lot. Oh, this is you.
Yes, sweet. All right, so this was my slide about banking and the UCC, and we get to skip this one completely.
Okay.
Okay. All right, so from a legal perspective with this stuff, one of the biggest issues that I've seen with my clients, that my firm's seen, is the understanding of the intellectual property rights. So people seem to think or have this idea that if it's on the internet, it is not property, the way that our houses and our cars, I see a bunch of you guys with computers out. I just can't walk up and go, nice computer. This is my computer, right? This is my computer now, I like it. The same applies to digital property. We're talking about computers, we're talking about real property. When we're talking about digital stuff, we're talking about what's called intellectual property. There's 3 types of intellectual property. I'm not going to talk about patents. I'm not a patent attorney. That would be a disaster. But we do have to talk about both copyright and trademark. So copyright protects original works of authorship. They protect creative rights, works, the intellectual property rights in songs and in plays and in photographs and all of those types of works. We also have to talk about trademark. We're at a marketing conference. We've said if everyone took a shot when we said the word brand, we would all be dead at this point. Trademarks protect brands. Now, they're both intellectual property. They are completely different. They come from different areas of law. They're regulated by different institutions. Copyright is federal. Trademark is federal and state. They treat the underlying works really, really differently. I could add on, an entire semester's worth of material talking about this stuff, but I don't have that. I have 7 minutes and 38 seconds. So the thing you have to understand here is that those intellectual property rights attach in the metaverse and as NFTs and tracked on blockchain. The puffy Coca-Cola coat that Clayton was talking about has the same intellectual property rights in the metaverse that coat, physical hard copy, has in real life. The Coca-Cola label, that's the brand. It's a coat, so it's fashion. It's not protected by copyright. But all of those things carry through. And the other thing that is often misunderstood is that the underlying intellectual property rights versus the right to own the thing, the copy of the thing, are two separate rights and they're divisible. So if you buy an NFT that is a song, you do not own the underlying copyright in that song. Copyright provides a handful of protections. We call these a bundle of sticks in law world. Snap metaphor.
Right.
Okay. All right, counselor. Yeah. In property, we talk about bundles of sticks, right? Someone hands you a bundle of sticks, literal sticks I'm talking about. You can separate them out. You can keep the bundle all together. You can spread them out into separate sticks. I can give Clayton the dumb stick and I can keep the good ones, right? Okay. I can sell him the stick. I can sell him the bundles of sticks. I can hand him 3 sticks and say, you have the right to use these until I want them back. Or if you pay me $1 billion, you can use these for 30 seconds, whatever. So under copyright, we have the right to reproduce the work, the right to distribute the work in any form, the right to make derivative works, so new things that are based on that thing, the right to publicly perform, and the right to publicly display. So if you buy an NFT that's a song and you want to showcase it publicly in a gallery, in a museum, you can't do that unless you have purchased, it's called an assignment, or licensed the underlying copyright permission to do that. So this makes sense when we talk about physical property. I really like your computer. May I borrow it for a second? May I test it out? I've never had an Apple before. That's a total lie. Yeah, sure. Here, you can have it for a couple minutes. You can see how it works, right? But I have to give it back. Just because I get to use it for a couple minutes doesn't mean that I get to keep it. It's not mine. The exact same thing works with these digital files. Again, I've mostly talked about copyright, trademark. Trademark is brand specific. It's a little bit different. Trademark is really based on consumer confusion. So if you are using someone else's brand as a parody to make fun of it, that's totally fine. You can't do that with copyright, right? There is something called fair use, but again, all I'm going to say about fair use is that the general rule is that the only person who can determine a fair use is an Article 3 federal judge. There are rules, there are standards, there are guidelines, there's all these things about fair use, but I hear all the time, well, I'm not charging money for it. It's not a commercial purpose, so it's fair use. Nope. Well, I credited the artist. They'll like that. Sure, they might. Nope, not fair use. Really, truly, the only person who can make a true determination is a judge. So for some reason, people think when we step from the physical world into the digital world, that we don't take those intellectual property rights with us. We do. They are exactly the same copyright rules that apply to a painting or a song will apply to the NFT or the token or whatever it is. I'm not saying all tokens or NFTs are protected by copyright. There are certain elements that works have to be protectable in the first place. But if they are, it is no different than if that existed in the physical world. So that's just really important to understand. I've seen a lot of clients. In fact, I just worked on a deal that the owner of a major motion picture, I can't tell you what one, but they are wanting to take songs from the soundtrack of this major motion picture and turn them into NFTs. So I got literally 100 different contracts licensing the music to the film, and I got to read through all 100 of them. I told Clayton yesterday, they're all different. He mentioned smart contracts. contracts are the wild west of law. Like there aren't these bright line rules that like, this is what you can do with contracts and this is what you can't. Contracts are basically, if it's not illegal, it's fine. Courts don't care about fairness. They don't care that you got a bad deal. They don't care that you didn't read it. They don't care if someone's unsophisticated and didn't understand it. They don't give a fuck, right? If you enter into it, if you agree to it, you're bound, full stop. So all of these contracts are different. But at the end of the day, I got through every single one and said, sorry, movie producer, you can't do this. And of course, that made him very happy because people really like it when their lawyers tell them no. And he was like, we'll find a way. And I'm like, no, these are pretty clear. You can't do this. So you also, as we're talking about the intellectual property stuff, we've also got to talk about the underlying agreements and the contracts. This is how we transfer ownership of intellectual property rights. We do it through agreements. So you may know this great artist. You love their work. You ask them, hey, can I make an NFT about this? And they're like, yeah, great. Failing to mention that maybe they had sold, they're a musician and their record label is actually the ones who own the rights. Well, that musician who wrote the song, no longer has the capacity to share that song with you to make an NFT. So there's chains of ownership, and it gets pretty legally complicated. And the answer is not, well, it's on the internet, so I can do it. Right. That is never the answer.
So we got a minute 34. To tie this back into
unless it's in the public domain. Sorry.
These contracts Kara's talking about, you can build those out on blockchain decentralized systems, and they are what we call smart contracts. So you can, when you publish an NFT or you publish a song, you enter into whatever agreement, you can build into this contract any of the terms that you can think of that are not illegal, apparently.
Illegal subject matter. If I take out a hit on Clayton and I tell you, I will give you $30,000 if you will kill Clayton.
This is being recorded, I think. Thank you.
And you don't kill Clayton and I sue you for breach of contract, the courts are going to go, absolutely, what? No.
I love this. But nice
I do hope we're recording this for posterity. That's fantastic.
Nice thing about smart contracts is they execute instantly. So just the same way that you're seeing your real impressions in real time and knowing how much you're actually spending on these things, you are also getting those contracts to execute instantly. So if you upload a song to a platform as an NFT, someone buys it, and you as the producer of that NFT say, I want to give you commercialization rights, which is something people are doing, then if I buy that, then instantly I can go sell that song to Hollywood, like to a TV show, to a movie, whatever. If they start playing it, instantly I get money put into my bank account, and instantly the original producer also gets money in their bank account. The smart contracts are there. They count as contracts, and they execute instantly. So that
a lot of times people think contracts have to be in writing. Not true. They have to be spoken out loud. Not true. Any agreement where you have
8 seconds.
A give and take of both parties can be a legally binding agreement. There are a billion exceptions to everything I've said today.
We're around for questions after this.
Time.
Thank you.
We did it. Okay, does anyone have any questions?
You're good. You're good on time if you want to. Do you have questions?
Did I see someone back? Oh, right.
Thank
the
you.
block. Forgot about the block already.
Okay, maybe a two-part question. So when thinking about the metaverse, should we think about this as something that's only on a VR headset, or is this like completely across PC, mobile, games? And based on that, how should we go about accessing or think about accessing our brand?
That's a great question. That guy left on the cutting room floor. So in the perfect realized version of the metaverse, it will be VR, right? This is a world where 10 years from now, the hope from some of these producers is, these hardware producers, is it will all, like that VR headsets will be as ubiquitous as cell phones, right? Maybe we'll get there. If we get there, then the idea would be the best case scenario. It's all in the metaverse and we all love that experience. It's not necessarily, we don't know if that's going to happen. So we are building out lots of desktop platforms too that are part of the metaverse. So if you want to play the game Decentraland, which is, it's kind of like digital Monopoly, but you get to like build places. That's where Nike has their Nike Land built out. You actually build digital spaces. That's Decentraland. You can access it on VR. You can also access it on your computer, on your desktop, your laptop, whatever, and interact with it in that space. So I think that to answer your second part of your question, it depends on kind of your goals, but if you are looking long-term and have the resources to start thinking and planning and building long-term, I would certainly be, I think building for VR is really important because the adoption rate is going up quite significantly. It's not at the tipping point yet, but we seem to be headed that way. But
That's what the legal system is thinking too. In fact, part of this Article 12 nonsense that I keep mentioning is an entire section about AI and the legitimacy of AI.
Yeah.
So, I mean, listen, if the lawyers have caught on, guys, we're slow, we're negative, we like to not embrace new technologies. If the legal community's there, it's happening.
yeah. But you should also build out desktop right now. Like you could, and you can do it on other decentralized platforms if you want. You can log in, you can create an account for your brand on Decentraland if you wanted to, and start building out an actual virtual space with your desktop, with your laptop, and you're in the metaverse, right? Then you have a presence there, and it's there. And people who strap on their headsets or who go in through their portals, through their computers, they can interact with that space. So you can be building those out right now. You don't have to wait until you have all the engineers there to make virtual reality specific platforms.
That's one thing my firm is really focusing on is when we were drafting these agreements for our clients, making sure that we are putting in stuff about new technologies and NFTs. And not that that's what clients are doing now, but unlike my client with the film, we're looking ahead to the future and saying, let's put some of these clauses in. Let's get ahead of this. So in 10 years from now, if you want to do this, you are allowed to, based on this agreement that you're entering into today.
Any other questions right now?
Is everyone hungry? Everyone's probably
I know,
Oh,
it's lunch.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Hi.
Hi.
Question you mentioned regarding the blockchain frustrating, if you can say, fraudulent impressions within. I just wanted to better understand if nowadays you see DSPs or programmatic built on blockchain.
There are some being built on blockchain, and what we're seeing mostly now is investment in building on blockchain. So I think over the next couple of years, we're going to see more and more providers actually offering that service on there. They're building it out. So I don't know, I don't remember the marketing industry, the big names off the top of my head, but like the big banks are all building out blockchains right now. Like Bank of America and Chase are all building out blockchain systems for themselves to give to their customers. And then some of it's like, of the Forbes top 100, I think something like 40% of them have publicly said they've invested in blockchain technology. So they're building them out, and in the next couple of years, we'll see more rollouts of more systems using blockchain that you can use for your programs. It's not a very good answer, but it's the one that I got.
We could always just give them the classic legal answer, which is
Depends.
it depends. Clayton
Every
will
time
come
I
and
ask
be
Tara a
like,
legal question,
the answer every single time is it depends. It depends. He loves it. It's his favorite.
It is fun.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
All right.
We're
Well,
holding
we
up
will
lunch.
be around. We don't want to keep you from food. I understand that is kind of the worst. I laughed about this today or yesterday when Clayton and I were looking over the schedule. I was like, oh, we're right before lunch. Oh, good. Hungry people love to pay attention. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much. We'll be around if you have questions.